Okay, so this will be charcoal, and I'm looking at this image here. Theoretically, I could probably do it without an image, but it's good to be able to see the correlation between the image itself and what I choose to do with it. So I might work in this kind of area here, probably there. I'll exclude the apple. I can probably include that kind of area there. So, when first working with charcoal, it's a good idea just to use some willow charcoal like this, and then just lightly sketch. So when I'm sketching with charcoal, rather than pressing hard and rather than holding it like a pencil, I just grip it lightly in my fingertips and just let the weight of the charcoal do the work. So when I'm first sketching, just very loose, always remembering to look at your reference image just to check where you are. Defining the shadow here, candle in the back. Now for me, this is almost enough. You might want to include a few more details, but for me this would probably do it. And after that, starting to figure out where the shadows are. So at this point, I'm just going to block in the shadows. Get the shadow here. And you'll notice that as I work, I tend to flit around a little bit, going from one area to the next. Not particularly sequential or logical in the order in which I do it. Remembering to leave the highlights totally white, at least at this stage. Now, I'm going to start getting some of these darker shadows in. Now, remembering at this stage it's still just willow charcoal. Might use some, depending on how it goes, might use some compressed charcoal later. Depends how I feel it goes. Now, at this point, I'll just show texture, which of course you're not really aiming to get every single dot on a lemon. You'd want to just get the sense of the texture. And so you just sort of have to look for patterns in line, and of course where the highlights are and all that sort of stuff. Might just block in the background here. Feel it needs to be dark like in the image. And I'll bring out the highlights in the actual fruit itself. And I think it'll help me decide how dark everything needs to be. Now I've gone over the candle there a bit, I don't care. This is the thing about art, is quite often, see, I've gone over there, but I'm okay. Is that in art, you just have to keep going with it. You can't labour over every little perceived mistake that you make. You just got to keep going with it. And chances are, those mistakes either won't matter or they're completely fixable. Now I'm going to just a little bit of definition down here. It's not really in the image, but I'm just going to, I just feel that when I do the highlight, leave the highlights later on in the fruit, it'll help. Alright, now just going to define this shadow in the candle a little bit. I'm just going to maybe make it so that it fades into the background a touch. Now the end result of this, I'm going to leave relatively loose. I'm not aiming for photorealism. I'm aiming for more expression, I suppose. So a lot of the times you really should figure out what you want from your image, either as you begin it or before you begin. Alright, I'm coming back to here now. I'm going to start fixing these shadows a little bit, making sure that they're the right shape. I'm concentrating also where the highlight actually should be. Now I'm feeling that soon compressed charcoal might be needed just to bring out those deeper shadows. Working entirely in compressed charcoal can be difficult, and I think it's often the source of people's hatred for charcoal, whereas actually it's a beautiful and easy medium to work with once you get used to the feel of it. Okay, there's a shadow running up here that I might just sort, so there's two individual highlights there. So I'll show you on the reference image what I'm talking about. Here, there's a highlight, a lesser highlight here and a greater highlight here, and I'm just trying to get the shadow in between. Now at this stage, I'm looking at that lemon on that reference image, and there really isn't a whole lot of shadow to speak of, so I'm just going to invent some because I think it'll make it look better. There is a highlight just here that I want to hold on to. Okay, now I'm going to get the compressed charcoal involved. Choose this one, looks good. I'm just going to get the deeper shadows down here where it touches the table. And also remember, when you're using charcoal, don't let your hand scrape along the edge. If your hand starts to scrape on the charcoal, it will smudge it, and then you'll have issues. And we'll just pull some of this into the background too, just to make definition between the candle. Get some darker shadows here.
Just open that door, it's about 200 degrees.
Yeah, cool. I'm just going to pull a lot of this more into shadow, I think, because I want the highlight and the focus to be here, and I think that it's a bit being pulled too far off to the right. So I'm going to do the same with the background. I just do a little bit of this just to pull like there's a shaft of light. just pouring onto the table there, but actually it's just a device to pull the eye. Whoopsie daisy. Alright, I'll just make that lemon fading more into shadow, but clearly more a lemon because I think I've lost the shape a bit. Now I'm picking up and putting down the willow and the compressed charcoal. Okay, what I really want to do is try and draw that attention to that plum in the foreground there. So I'm going to try and push some of these things back so that we can see that plum a bit more clearly and improve these shapes a bit too. Okay, now the still I feel is getting lost, so I'm just going to again continue to push it forward with a bit of shadow, not touch it too much. So just trying to, as much as I can, define that light that's behind it. At some stage I might decide that this candle is too ambiguous and just more or less do away with it, but we will see. I'm going to continue making the candle in the willow. Okay. I'm going to make its shadow on the table and compressed. Okay, just over here needs work, I think. Make the shadow stronger. Make it feel like this shadow here is more or less reflected light, which would be nice. At this point, what I'm doing is really actually squinting my eyes, because sometimes it really helps to see the shapes of the shadow when you squint your eyes a little bit. Sometimes you can get lost in all the line if you are focusing too clearly with your eyes, and if you just let your eyes go a touch out of focus, you can get that sense of where the shadow really is and the shapes of the shadows, because you end up just seeing the lightest and the darkest colors, or shades I should say, and the rest kind of fades away. Okay, I could continue to labor this for a while and then probably make it a little more convincing and make it pop out a little more, but I think we have something that is more or less at the point where we want it. We have the interplay between the light shadows there and the main shadow here, and then we have a bit of a shadow at the bottom here and definition.